Last day of notes together. We're going to talk about the square root method. Okay. No, it's so sad. Okay, if you have something, a quadratic like this, where the b term is missing, yes, sometimes we can factor difference of squares, right? But if it's not a perfect square, we can't really do that. But if we're missing a b term, we can isolate the x squared and then do what we call, well, let's just talk one step at a time. Do you see this guy right here? If we isolate x squared, well, that means I would like add 49 both sides, right? So I'd have x squared equals 49. Well, how do we undo the square so that it's just x and not x squared? How do we undo a square? In order to undo a square, we're going to square root both sides. And then this, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. X squared equals 49. We're going to square root both sides. The square and square root cancel each other out. Now, here's the trick though. When we take the square root of both sides, yes, the square root of 49 is 7, but since the square root undid the square, we technically have a positive or a negative 7. Every time you take the square root of both sides, you have to account for the positive and the negative version, okay? What is 7 squared? What's negative 7 squared? Okay, they both satisfy x squared equals 49, so we have to include them both. Okay? Okay, now, could we have factored x squared minus 49? Yes, we could have, but this just gives us another option. Okay? The whole point of this chapter is to give you options for solving our quadratics. Okay? So let's go to number 1. Is this a quadratic where we are missing the bx term? Yes, it is. So what we can do is we can add that 16 over. Do you know what this is?
No.
Okay. But you gotta go now.
Oh, okay. What am I? Just the local office?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay. Then what do we need to do to undo the square? We need to square root both sides. The square root and square cancel. And x equals plus or minus 4. Okay. Now, some of you might even be able to look at number 2 and figure it out, right? But I do need you to show some work. Is it a quadratic where the bx term is missing?
Yeah.
Excellent. So I can add over 100. And then when we square root both sides, we get x equals plus or minus, thank you, 10. I know, right? Now, here's where things get interesting. Let's solve number 3. I want x squared to be by itself. So I'm going to move over the 25. What happens when we try to square root both sides? We cannot have a negative under our square root. So if this happens, we have to say no solution, which we know is possible. In this case, we have a parabola opening up where the vertex is above the x-axis. It's not crossing the x-axis. We don't have a solution. Okay? Okay, I would like you to do number 4 and number 5. Ready, set, go. What did you get for an answer for number 4? Plus or minus 9? X squared is 81. We square root both sides. X is plus or minus 9. Okay, how about number 5? Oh, that's a bummer. Because x squared equals negative 3. That's not cool. Okay. Now, without having to do it, number 7, what would your first step be? Divide by 6. Okay, we're not going to do that one. I want to go to number 9. Just want to make sure that we review some of these simple things that we haven't done in a while. If I want to isolate x squared, how do I undo that 3/4 that's being multiplied to it? Yeah, times it by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by 4 over 3 so that these undo. And we have x squared equals 12 times 4 divided by 3. Yes. 12 times 4 is 48, divided by 3 is 16. You have a calculator, so you know. Okay, so we can square root both sides to get x's plus or minus 4. Okay, I want you and your elbow partner, you and your table, work through number 10, see if you can come up with the right answer.
Plus or minus 10. What?
Nothing. Scaring me. I was looking at the weather. I was just looking at the time. You gonna try number 10?
Oh, yeah, I'm working on it.
You were on the radar.
You gonna?
How do I square root it?
Okay, you gotta add the 5 before you get rid of the 1/2, buddy.
I knew that. I was just showing David what not to do.
All right, what is the first thing you have to do? Okay, I see that there is some mix-up here. We have to add the 5 first. Whatever is furthest away from x squared has got to go first. Okay? So 1/2 x squared equals 50. So x squared equals 100. So x is plus or minus 10. Ooh, you forget the plus or minus? Every time I die a little bit inside. Even next year and in algebra 2, you forget that plus or minus.
Wait, I just have one here.
Yes.
If we minus the 45 or the minus 50, I get the same answer.
But yeah, because you still have to move it. Yeah. Yeah. It is Nickelodeon colors. All right, let's go to the other side. Or the next page, 39. Okay, so far we have been very fortunate that all of our numbers have been super nice, right? Okay, let's look at number 16. Now, I'll say they're still nice numbers, but let's just talk about what happens when we get a fraction, okay? Yes, I know, we could factor this one. I know, this is just another option. Since there's no bx term, we can add the 16 over, divide by 9, but 16 doesn't divide by 9. But when we square root both sides, what's the square root of 16 over 9? So our answer is plus or minus 4 over 3. Okay. Now, look at number 19. Oh, there's a 19 in number 19. Sometimes we are not going to get a perfect square with our radical. And there is where we get to practice all of those skills that we learned a week and a half ago. Now, 19, prime number. We're not going to get to be able to reduce that. Okay? However, look at number 21. If I minus the 5 over, I get x squared equals 12. Yeah? So when I square root both sides, we get plus or minus square root 12. If you leave that as your answer, you will not get full credit. Why not? 12 is 4 times 3. So this is plus or minus 2 radical 3. Okay, one more problem, and then I'll get you to work. Okay. What shall I do first? Nope. What should I do first? Okay. I'm going to add 126. Now we can divide by 2. What's 126 divided by 2? Good job. Got a good song going in your head there, Tinley? So we have plus or minus square root 63. Do we want, nope. What divides into 63? It's 9 times 7. So this is plus or minus 3 root 7.